with a scrimmage alongside Graham Nash and Abel Wajenki to jump center. And the Indiana men's basketball exhibition is underway. Thank you so much for joining us here on Big Ten Plus. Reed Bailey handling up top, the Davidson transfer. Handoff to Connor Enright. You'll see a lot of this fast-paced ball movement. Tayton Connerway misses the first field goal attempt of the evening, and Marian is out and running in transition. Here's Aiden Franks, someone that Marian's coaching staff is very high on. Blake Russell out up top. Aaron Humphrey gets his first touch. Noah Lovin inside, turns around, and he traveled. Noah Lovin, the sophomore out of Jeffersonville, commits the first turnover. 30 seconds in, Graham. This is an Indiana team that if the Cream and Crimson scrimmage is anything to go by, they are going to play fast and they're going to shoot a lot of threes.
That's exactly right. That's something that'll be very fresh and renewing for Indiana fans, as well as last year's Indiana team didn't shoot the basketball very well from beyond the arc. This team much, much different in that regard.
Lamar Wilkerson, one to watch. He drives inside, misses off glass as Bailey goes to the floor. Here's DeVries from downtown. And his father, Darren DeVries, said he's lauded as a shooter, but his basketball IQ is perhaps even more impressive.
That's something that this team will absolutely use. A little bit of leadership, all new players.
Up and under from Aiden Franks, and we talked about Marian struggled last year. A lot of injuries. Aiden Franks, a redshirt sophomore, was able to take advantage, and he got a lot of playing time under head coach Pat Knight a season ago. Tucker DeVries into the paint, fades and hits. Tucker DeVries expected to be a leader on this team. He's a fifth-year senior, over 110 career games played, and Graham, you see his confidence here early.
Yeah, and I think that comes from him being at his healthiest. That's what he said before the season started. That's what Darren DeVries said. He is really, really healthy, feeling really good playing basketball right now.
Here's Noah Lovin into the paint. Back outside to Ron Rutland, the Crispus Attucks High School graduate. Fades and fires and flushes it home from just inside the three-point line.
Well, that's a pretty move, and that's big for Pat Knight, because something he said is he didn't want this team to feel overwhelmed coming to Assembly Hall. Obviously, the atmosphere, something that Marian doesn't get a lot of, so getting a quick bucket like that is going to be big for the Knights.
Wilkerson steps back, but he's harassed by Lovin, so he gives it up to Tucker DeVries. Reed Bailey, you'll see him inside the paint a lot. Little pick and roll and a two-hand flush. Tucker DeVries, all 7 of Indiana's points in the first couple of minutes.
Yeah, 7 points, all of them for Tucker DeVries. He's showing off that health, showing off that IQ, a great cut there.
Something Darren DeVries said Indiana's going to pride itself on, moving off the ball. Tipped out of bounds by Connerway, harassing Noah Lovin there. Connerway, a 2-time transfer, couple of junior college stops, and then 2 years at Troy. Sun Belt Player of the Year last year was Connerway. Lively student section here on homecoming weekend. Aiden Franks misses the fadeaway. Reed Bailey there for the rebound. Out and running in transition. Darren DeVries said he wants Reed Bailey to do a lot of that throughout the season. Handoff to Wilkerson into the paint. And Connerway now. Double team. Nice pass to DeVries. Deflected out of bounds and last touched by Reed Bailey inside.
And I think that's something that we might see a bit of in this exhibition, and then maybe the next one as well against Baylor, is just a little bit of those turnovers, a little bit of sloppy passes. This team still trying to find a bit of that chemistry together. That Puerto Rico trip, the only thing that they have right now under their belt.
Here's Noah Lovin. Good defensive pressure by Connerway, but Aaron Humphrey is there. Nice baseline cut by Franks. Now shot clock becoming a factor outside, nearly a turnover. Got to get a shot away. Humphrey misses off back iron. Or that was Ron Rutland firing from downtown. Now Tucker DeVries brings it up the floor for Indiana. Here's Wilkerson. Negative. Offensive rebound for Enright. Tucker DeVries from way downtown. Not quite. Very confident shooting early, though. Here's Franks in transition on DeVries. Off glass, no good. And Connerway the rebound. Indiana pushing the pace. Reed Bailey's pass deflected and stolen by Aaron Humphrey. And into the paint, blocked by Wilkerson. And Indiana keeps it inbound. Good job there by Connerway, following up after the block.
Well, there's that pace that we talked about, Nick. Rapid start.
Wilkerson couldn't quite pay it off, but we see Indiana taking a lot of threes very quickly.
Yeah, that's going to be a big part of this team's identity this season. Again, That's a great sign after last season's team didn't really shoot that many threes. One of the lowest teams in the conference in three-point attempts.
Wilkerson out and running, had his pocket picked, and that'll take us to the first timeout of this first half. 15:40 to go. Tucker DeVries has all 7 of Alexis, a 2-time transfer. Won a national championship last year with Florida, was with Chattanooga before that. Enright to inbound from the baseline, gets it out to Tucker DeVries. DeVries driving, spinning into the paint, a double team. There's Sam Alexis underneath, blocked from behind, he gets it back. All kinds of pressure. Kick out Wilkerson, just short. DeVries again inside. He was fouled, perhaps ruining the missed opportunity at a three-point play there.
But great aggression from Tucker DeVries and just good ball movement. Wilkerson on the outside. Sam Alexis felt the presence behind him and he was able to turn around, find Wilkerson. That shot didn't go down, one that Wilkerson is very capable of making. But Tucker DeVries just in the right place at the right time, scooped it up, just couldn't quite get the and one to fall.
DeVries has all 7 of Indiana's points so far and make it 8 right there. Hoosiers have already attempted 4 three-point baskets. DeVries made the only one. Second free throw. 2 for 2 to start the night is DeVries from the line. And Ron Rutland, the IU Indy transfer, one of a couple Division I transfers on this Marian team, bringing it up the floor. There's a nice cut from Aiden Franks, and he can't quite finish at the rim. Wilkerson elevates to grab it. Here's Enright. DeVries, right side. Couple bounces and tipped in on the second effort. There's Trent Sisley off the bench for Indiana.
Trent Sisley getting some time. Some Hoosier fans going to be happy about that. An Indiana kid himself, and he's got some good height. He's got some good feel, good touch. He's going to be another exciting player to watch.
As sent to the deck is Noah Lovin. Humphrey gathers at the top, working on Enright. Defense comes from Sisley. See him motoring around early. Late shot clock again for Marian. Good defense by Indiana. Into the corner, got a hoist. No good. Good defense so far from Indiana.
Yeah, the Hoosiers did a great job switching there a couple times where they were in no man's land.
Wilkerson left open, and you just can't do that. Lovin tried to intercept the pass, and as good of a shooter as Lamar Wilkerson is, 40% from three-point range for his career, he's not going to miss many of those open looks.
No, he's really not. 44.5% from 3 last season. An unbelievable number, led Sam Houston State in 2025.
Blake Russell, harassed by Sam Alexis, has to kick back to Aiden Franks. Every Marian possession going late into the shot clock. Franks crossing over, bumping with DeVries, and he traveled again. He was getting close to the baseline as well, but you see the ball pressure from Indiana. Darren DeVries talked about it. They're going to pride themselves on max effort at all times, and you're seeing that here early.
Yeah, and he really wanted to see the defense be more connected in this exhibition. Said that in Puerto Rico, he felt like there were times where that defense got a little disconnected, guys left open on the perimeter. Early on in this game, they've done a good job switching. I think that's the big sign for this team early on the defensive side.
Trent Sisley, the native of Santa Claus, Indiana. Nice ball movement underneath, and Alexis flushes it with 2 hands. Left all alone. Alexis standing at 6'9". A very physical player, one of the more physical players in the paint that Indiana has on this roster. Joshua Renfro gets his first touch, as does Luke Carroll. Here's Carroll underneath the basket, and he stepped out of bounds. And Josiah Miles checking in. Indiana going to its bench very quickly, as you might expect in this exhibition. You want to get everybody on the floor, get their feet wet, playing against another team.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And something else that Darren DeVries said before the game in his press conference earlier this week was he wants to see what combinations work well together. Because again, this is only the 4th real time that this team has played together against another opponent. He's trying to find what sticks.
Sisley inside to Alexis. Now Wilkerson back out. He drives underneath and lays it in. And that's the danger with Lamar Wilkerson. He can score at all 3 levels.
Yeah, he's so good. He can get that little pump fake, get a guy in the air because you have to follow him, and then drive baseline, puts his shoulder down as well as anybody. Maybe not the tallest guy that can work down low, but he's got the size, got that low center of gravity that's working for him.
Renfro over to Rutland in front of the Indiana bench. Rutland moving inside, fades away. Did not get the bounce, and Alexis down with the rebound. Josiah Miles, he's got space. Don't know that Wilkerson's going to shoot from that far out, at least not yet. Connerway and Alexis trying to work some two-man action. Alexis working his way in. The double team comes, and he's fouled as Humphrey got him on the arm. But it's tough for Indiana in these early season stretches. They've been dealing with some injuries, and Darren DeVries talked about it. That's one of the big pieces. It's just early in the season, there are a lot of unknowns, and with so many guys trying to get back fully healthy, I think the coaching staff is somewhat as much in the dark as we are. Alexis misses the first free throw. Josiah Gustin coming in for Marian as Humphrey goes to the bench. But it's tough when you're not healthy. There's not a whole lot of chemistry that you can establish with your entire rotation.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And again, that's why these exhibitions are so important.
Sisley with the offensive rebound, and he lays it in. Indiana's defense very stingy early on in this one. Franks has been one of the primary ball handlers. Here's Rutland along two, a little bit too strong. Trent Sisley in short time, he's got his fingerprints all over this game. That pass deflected out of bounds by Franks as Sisley was coming open in the near side corner very often. Indiana in the front court out of the timeout. Connerway tries a straight on three and whiffs. And the rebound to Josiah Gustin. Didn't know if we'd see him tonight. He was nursing a back injury earlier this week. Marian caught the injury bug in full force a season ago. Nice off-ball movement from Aiden Franks as Marian tries to find an open shooter. Up top, here's Rutland. Over near us to Luke Carroll. From the block, misses the fadeaway. And into the hands of Sam Alexis goes the rebound. Tucker DeVries brings it up the floor. And DeVries tries another three, and again, he's money from downtown. DeVries has made both of Indiana's three-point attempts so far in this game. He's been very confident shooting from outside. Yeah,
and very good to see if you're Darren DeVries in this Indiana team, because he only played in 8 games last season with West Virginia.
Joshua Renfro misses just right of center. But Tucker DeVries hampered by injury with the Mountaineers a season ago. Here's Bailey into a double team. Connerway open for a second, but passed it up. Bailey on Gustin inside. He spins, he lays it up and misses, but there's Alexis on the glass again. Open shooters up top. Here's Tucker. Count. DeVries times 3, Graham. He's on fire.
Yeah, well, despite only playing in 8 games, he shot about 47% from 3 at West Virginia. This guy can knock him down from anywhere on the court.
His release is pure. Into the paint, Gustin, blocked by Alexis. Seeing Alexis's size in the paint early. Heat check. Oh, he was fouled. DeVries and Joshua Renfro went to the deck there. You see Tucker DeVries quick to pull the trigger. It doesn't matter where.
No, it really doesn't. We saw him shoot a couple of those in warm-ups as well. Pretty much carbon copy where he was off balance, 1 foot in the air, and he has the ability very much so to knock those down. Just a bit of contact there from Renfro and took him to the hardwood.
So DeVries misses the first of 3 foul shots. But Tucker DeVries spent 3 years at Drake, followed his dad to West Virginia. A 2-time Player of the Year in the Missouri Valley Conference. As he makes the second free throw. A couple of substitutes for both sides coming in. Wilkerson and Enright back for Indiana. And Noah Lovin and Lamar Jones back on the floor for Marian. But I'm sure Tucker DeVries is just excited to be healthy again. See if he can go 2 for 3 from the line here. And that he does. Marian has not scored in over 7 minutes of game time. 0 for its last 10 from the floor. Talk about that defensive effort for Indiana. Carroll harassed by Wilkerson as DeVries fights around the screen. A lot of traffic up top. Lovin had it swatted away and stolen by Connerway. Indiana out and running once again. Connerway bluffs the handoff to Wilkerson. Now back it goes. And Enright between the rings. Enright to DeVries. In the corner, here's Connerway. Money. And Pat Knight wants a timeout. Tayton Connerway under 30% for three in his career, but no trouble right there. Or 6 for its last 7. Marian, on the other hand, has not scored in over 7 minutes of game time. Joshua Renfro brings it across the timeline. And Graham, this intensity from Indiana defensively is palpable, as Tucker DeVries perhaps a little too intense as he fouls Noah Lovin.
Yeah, the defense, the pressure is what has led to this big offensive spark, as DeVries just kind of got caught, and looks like that was Reed Bailey that reached in. But the defense has still been phenomenal. Right before that break, what caused the timeout from Pat Knight was that Tayton Connerway steal. Every Hoosier is finding a way to stay up close to those players that they need to defend, and then when there is a breakdown, they've switched really, really well. And Marian, I feel like, has gotten some pretty good shots off early on in this game. They just haven't fallen when they've gotten those opportunities.
Lovin at the line, misses the second. There's Bailey for the rebound. Lovin, one of only 2 Marian players to appear in every game last year for the Knights. It shows you how struck they were by injuries. Wilkerson behind the back pass. Here's Bailey. Yes! Wilkerson nonchalant behind the back right there. You see maybe some of that chemistry starting to come to the forefront.
Yeah, it's starting to build a little bit. That's what, again, these exhibitions are all about, just creating some of that team chemistry.
And I think they got Wilkerson for a foul away from the play there. So it'll be side out Marian. But Wilkerson, 2-time first-team All-Conference when he was at Sam Houston State. He started 63 consecutive games. You want to talk about experience coming into Bloomington. He might be the poster child. Here's Josiah Gustin, wants to hand it off to Lovin. And Lovin meets some of the fans sitting courtside. And I think somebody just lost their Dragonfly IPA, as they get Josiah Miles for the foul. Miles, the North Florida transfer. And the Towel crew working overtime. I'll tell you what, Graham, I saw the price tag. That is an expensive spillage in front of us.
That's not one that you want to see go down.
Collective groan from the students and fans. Jeremy Gray having some fun. He called party foul as well. I don't know how many times he's had to say that, but Josiah Miles coming over from North Florida. Teammates with Josh Harris over there. Those two are roommates, and IU Student Media's own Zach Browning did a feature story on the two of them. They play Fortnite together when the basketball activity is all said and done. In the competition, Miles and Harris, they push each other as hard as 2 teammates you'll ever see. Here's Blake Russell outside to Lamar Jones. Marian trying to get something going offensively late in the shot clock once again. Here's Noah Lovin. Somebody's got to fire. He's the one to do it, and he misses everything. And Grant, obviously you take everything with a grain of salt given the strength of the competition, but it is encouraging to see Indiana's defensive intensity regardless of the score, regardless of the situation. Yeah, exactly, especially because Darren DeVries said that that's what he wanted to see today. As Enright misses a 3, offensive rebound for Josiah Miles. Outside to Wilkerson. Yes! Said it before, you cannot leave him open outside, but you talk about DeVries wanting to see that intensity. I feel like he's liking what he's seeing so far. Yeah, definitely. There's been a lot of claps over from Darren DeVries, really encouraging his team on the defensive end. That's all that he really wants. Of course, you want to see that offensive chemistry, but defensive chemistry can sometimes take longer to develop. So that's going to really excite a head coach that has a brand new team. Wilkerson swats it away. Back to Renfro with 3 on the shot clock. Jones, now Gustin, blocked away. And another shot clock violation. Josiah Miles out of the timeout, Indiana. The defense, I think, has been the bigger story, but also Tucker DeVries as confident shooting from downtown as Sam Alexis is dunking. That's already the 2nd or 3rd time we've seen him elevate. And that is just filthy ball movement. It felt like at each different blink, a different Hoosier had the basketball. There's that quick pace that this team's going to play with. Renfro bluffs a 3. Lovin inside, extra pass. Good ball movement there by Marian, but Blake Russell couldn't pay it off. Tucker DeVries at 6'7", bringing the ball up the floor. Trent Sisley knocks it down. And Sisley, a true freshman, positioned for serious playing time. He's been a name to watch for a long time in the high school ranks, finally down here in Bloomington.
Yeah, and for good reason, standing 6'8", but still has that ability to shoot.
As Aiden Franks knocks down the 3-ball for Marian. But Sisley holds the Heritage Hills High School records for rebounds and points alike, and he set them both in 3 years before he went to Montverde. There's Aiden Franks taking it the length of the floor. Pat Knight calling him a really smart player who's also a good shooter, but he's better off the ball.
Yeah, he was the Crossroads League's Freshman of the Year, and for good reason. Got a lot of starts late, which gave him good experience. Josiah
Miles too strong. Offensive rebound, DeVries. Sisley back to Enright at the top. Miles again. Here's DeVries in the paint. Sisley's open. Twice as nice for Trent Sisley. You mentioned Sisley went to Montverde. Of course, a lot of notables to come out of there. Cooper Flagg, Liam McNeely, Derek Queen, and of course, Jalen Hood-Schifino as well. Aiden Franks creates space, and there he is again. Slippery is how you would describe him.
Yeah, he's starting to find his footing, really getting shifty, creating some good separation, not relying on the pass as much, just creating by himself.
Wide open underneath is Alexis, and you can't do that. Darren DeVries, after that last 3 from Aiden Franks, saw him shaking his head as he leaned on the scorer's table. It's one of those lapses in defense for Indiana. See if Franks tries another one. Not quite as open this time. Inside to Humphrey, and he buries it. So now 3 straight baskets for Marian. The Knights starting to find their footing on offense.
Yeah, it felt like they got some good looks early on in the game. Those shots just weren't really falling. Now they're settling in. Again, Pat Knight said this to us. He felt like there was a chance that they were a little off mark.
Tucker DeVries, not off the mark.
He has not been off the mark pretty much since this game began, but just to finish that point, I mean, the Knights coming into this kind of environment, we've said it a little bit already, there was going to be some nerves. The question of how quickly could they settle said nerves was really going to depend how quickly the scoring got going for them.
Inside goes Humphrey, around the horn now to Lovin. And the handoff, here's Franks again, off the mark. Indiana already up to 50 points, and we haven't hit the under 4 timeout yet. That's how fast the Hoosiers are playing in this first half.
And that's why Indiana really wants to see that defense be strong.
Here's Enright, count it. Connor Enright, another sharpshooter, 37% from downtown for his career. Spent the first 2 years of his career at Drake with Darren DeVries before coming over to Indiana from DePaul a season ago. And hold that.
Not only playing together, but playing in the Pat Knight system.
And Gus Etchison transferring out of Knight's Marian program to the Division I level. You might recognize his name because he raised some eyebrows when Marian was in town each of the last couple of years. But also for Pat Knight, there are no true seniors on this roster. So it's entirely possible that this program might have another year of this same core at this time next season. Definitely something to get excited about. Aiden Franks leading the charge. He's now got 12 of Marian's 17 points. He's really heated up.
Yeah, Franks is finding his jump shot really, really nicely, settling into the environment. And to your point about how the Knights might have this core again next year, they also might not, because Pat Knight wants to see these guys go to the next level.
Reed Bailey lays it in, plus the foul, so a chance at a 3-point play for the Davidson transfer. But Pat Knight called himself sort of the G League of college basketball. So we get a look at Bailey finishing through contact. He said, I'm going to help you get paid, but it's not going to be me that's paying you. It's going to be hopefully his players getting to the Division I level, not too dissimilar to what Gus Etchison did transferring from Marian to Idaho State.
And it was interesting because he talked about the transfer portal and how that's changing the landscape, and said that it's kind of players are getting overlooked. So while he's wanting these players to advance, he feels like he's also getting better players.
Connerway elevates and finishes. And look who forced that turnover, Tucker DeVries.
He's just all over the place. He's got such a good eye for the ball again, that IQ. It's one of the highest on this Indiana team.
Franks matched up with Wilkerson. Here's Lamar Jones on the handoff, tipped away by DeVries, and bodies hit the floor. The ball is loose, more bodies on the floor before the ball goes out of bounds just in front of us. And look, it's a 40-point game late in the first half, and you still got multiple Indiana players diving on the floor. Watch this intensity from DeVries and then Connor Enright as well.
Yeah, it was just a real scrap. That throw a little bit high, and Enright had to go diving. But I looked immediately over at Darren DeVries and the bench. They were loving the effort. Want to see them put out that kind of effort every single play, every single game, no matter the opponent.
So Tucker DeVries to inbound. 2.5 to go, first half. Indiana looking for 60 points in the first half, and there you go. Tucker DeVries up well over 20 points already. 5 of 7 from three-point range in the first half. Indiana nearly 60% from downtown as a team.
It's been so difficult for Marian because when they get that quick ball movement going, he's just got so much space.
As Humphrey makes the floater. Aaron Humphrey, another one of those players with Division I experience. Went to St. Francis, then went to Glen Oaks Junior College in Michigan. Now playing at the NAIA level for Marian. DeVries in the corner. Matched up against Franks. Cross-court pass to Bailey. Inside he goes, blocked away by Noah Lovin. Reed Bailey, 7 inches taller than Noah Lovin, but good defensive effort by Lovin, the Jeffersonville native.
And Reed Bailey again showing his size, but also his ball handling ability. DeVries said that he wants to see him take the ball up the floor in transition, kind of use his speed and his strong ball handling ability. Not something you see from a lot of guys that are 6'10".
He's 6'10", but he handles like a guard, and he's great passing the ball. Screams mismatch as Bailey makes the first free throw. So these teams now a combined 13 of their last 14 from the floor. Scoring pace definitely amping up on both sides.
Yeah, it is, and that's where, if you're either side, you want to see that defense step up a little bit. That's why Darren DeVries says that he wants to see a bit of that defensive chemistry come together, because when you play such a fast style of basketball, it gives way a little bit for the other team to also find holes and score themselves.
Bailey misses the second free throw. Rebound to Lamar Jones. Lovin brings it off, or gives it off to Humphrey, I should say. Guarded out there by Bailey. Now Lovin and Miles going head-to-head, and he had that one wrestled away. Sisley pushing the pace. Here's Josiah Miles. Miles back outside. Connerway over to Reed Bailey. And he goes through the paint but misses the layup. Lovin there for the board. Final minute of this first half coming up. It has been frenetic, to say the least. Up top, Humphrey. Lovin thought about it. Now he'll try inside. Blocked away by Sam Alexis. See him inside the paint. Very physical on every possession. Time for Connerway here, one-on-one. Takes it all the way to the hole. Count it, and the foul. Darren DeVries talked about how Tatum Connerway can break down defenses at times. Right there, driving inside. He draws the contact from Noah Lovin. It's the second foul for Lovin, but in the final minute of this first half, probably not too much of a concern.
Yeah, I wouldn't say so. And Connerway, you mentioned his versatility and how he can really break defenses down. It's a combination of A, that quick first step, and B, the fact that he had 162 assists last season with Troy. He can distribute the basketball like nobody's business. He may not be the best three-point shooter by any means in the conference, but he's got an ability to handle the ball and share the wealth that a lot of other point guards don't necessarily have anymore.
And Connerway took Troy to its first NCAA tournament in 8 years. Just the Trojans' third berth all time in the Big Dance. A chance at a three-point play, and he makes good on it. So a few substitutes for Indiana. Andre Achimovic, Trice Grinsing, and Ian Stevens on the floor. So in the dying stages of this first half, a taste of the walk-ons for the Indiana fans. Ron Rutland bringing it up the floor. One of the players Pat Knight talked about, he's trying to get back to the Division I level. Humphreys tries a three and knocks it down. Aaron Humphrey, the JUCO product. And now the Hoosiers have a chance to hold for the final shot, as Miles likely will dribble this down under 10 seconds. Achimovic there to set the screen. Miles uses it. Trying to get into the paint, passes it off to Sisley. Back to Achimovic, off glass and good as the clock hits 0. The Hoosiers with 6-7 points in the first half of play under Darren DeVries from Simon Scott Assembly Hall.
What he was looking for in this game, test the different lineups and see how the offense works. He said, yes, the defense and their compatibility is important, but this is more a test of the offense.
As we switch ends for the final 20 minutes, Marian with possession to start things off. Ron Rutland from outside misses a tray. And Tayton Connerway down with the rebound. Original starters out there for both teams. And the number that I want to throw at you, Graham, we saw it in the stat comparison, but some context is important. As Connerway inside, here's Enright in the corner, and he banked it in. And that goes right in with what I was going to talk about. Indiana, in its previous 3 home exhibitions, was a combined 5 for 19 from 3 in the first half, as that ball is deflected out of bounds by Tucker DeVries. So 5 for 19 combined through its previous 3 home exhibitions before tonight in the first half. Tonight, Indiana was 12 for 20 in the first half from 3-point range. That speaks to Darren DeVries' philosophy. We're going to shoot a lot of threes.
Yeah, he said that when he walked into the building pretty much. And at the end of last season was, this team's going to shoot a lot of threes. This team's going to play fast-paced basketball. And that is exactly what we saw in the first 20 minutes.
And fast-paced on both sides of the ball. The defensive intensity there, forcing Ron Rutland into a 5-second violation.
I think that might be the more impressive part is, on defense, there's a lot of chemistry you need to have to pick up switches, to play a good man, good zone defense, whatever you want to call it. That has been on point for Indiana in those first 20 minutes. It was just the ability to switch was really, really impressive.
Bailey spinning inside, got his arms tied up by Blake Russell. Blake Russell, 23 in Navy, the one who picked up the foul. Pat Knight called him a poor man's Kevin McHale. Kevin McHale, of course, nicknamed the Torture Chamber because of his defensive prowess, his footwork, his skills in the post. A 3-time NBA champion, Hall of Famer, regarded as one of the greatest of all time. And oh, by the way, he played in the Big Ten at Minnesota. That's high praise for Russell, a true freshman who averaged almost 19 points and 10 rebounds in high school.
Yeah, and just looking at his numbers and what he accomplished in high school, I think you can understand a bit of why he was given that title. Named to the All-Louisville team, All-State team, was a Kentucky All-Star, and as a high schooler, so this kid's got game. He's just trying to find it at the collegiate level.
And that's the thing. Pat Knight talked about it to us earlier this week as Humphrey rises and fires and misses everything. Wilkerson watching that go over the baseline. There are a lot of things that you can do at the high school level that you just can't get away with once you get to the college game. And so it is a huge learning curve. Blake Russell being thrown into the fire as a true freshman. Your first game action, even though it's an exhibition, is against a Power 4 Division I team.
Yeah, and he's not the only one on this team that's going to have to try to figure it out. A lot of freshmen on this team for Pat Knight.
Connerway misses the second chance attempt, and down with it comes Aaron Humphrey, pushing the pace ahead to Renfro. Renfro picked up by Wilkerson, and there is Blake Russell getting a touch. Down to the baseline for Aiden Franks. Franks had 12 points in that first half to lead all Marian scorers. Humphrey now with under 10 on the shot clock. Franks was very confident shooting earlier. Here he passes it off to Renfro, who misses the 3-ball. And the offensive rebound through the hands of Lovin in transition with urgency was Indiana. And Connerway looking for Enright, the pass deflected out of bounds by Renfro.
How about that little tip-up from Tayton Connerway, just getting that basketball above the outstretched hands of the Knights. He was looking like he was well on his way to a phenomenal assist, but just didn't quite lead his, I guess you could call it, intended receiver enough there to get the connection. But still, he's showing off a little pizzazz.
Connerway inbounding to Reed Bailey, missed his target, and here's Rutland running the other way, all the way to the hole, and the second chance finish for Humphrey, plus the foul. See Marian getting out and running right there. Darren DeVries not pleased with that sequence, I'm sure, and Again, kind of the growing pains for Indiana. We'll take another look at it right here. All the way to the hole as Wilkerson, I think, went up to try to block that one. Humphrey shooting into the student section, knocks it down. As Connor Enright brings it up for Indiana. Over 90 career games played. One of many experienced transfers. Here's Reed Bailey underneath. Nice finish. Bailey with nearly 100 career games played. These guys are veterans, to say the least.
Yeah, I think that's the big point to talk about, is a lot of questions about how they'd play together, but it's a lot easier to play together when you've played so many games just in general. All of these guys have long resumes, and that can really, really help come regular season, but definitely come conference time as well.
Connerway got his hand into the passing lane there. You can see it looks like he's going to be a pest on defense for teams throughout the season facing Indiana.
I think that's absolutely right. I mean, last year with Troy, Connerway set the program record in steals with 98. So this dude is just quick. He's got quick hands, and he's going to absolutely be a pest. I think that's a perfect way to say it.
He averaged nearly 3 steals per game over the course of his career. As Tucker DeVries gets dinged for the foul there, so side out for Marian. And Sam Alexis first off the bench, as he was in the first half. I suspect we will see the walk-ons in the dying stages of the second half. And right there, Tucker DeVries getting tangled up with Noah Lovin on the perimeter. And so for DeVries, that's his second foul of the evening. Lovin now driving on Reed Bailey. That's a mismatch and a half. Back up top for Humphrey. On Alexis, into the paint. He spins, and he gets it to go. Nice finish there by Aaron Humphrey, standing at 6'7".
That was good defense, but just a little bit better offense. Aaron Humphrey Jr. did a great job with some soft touch there over a very tall Sam Alexis, who was really moving his feet well and staying in front of Humphrey.
Enright driving inside, extra pass to Alexis, and that was perhaps ill-advised as he turns it over. Enright perhaps a little too unselfish. Here's Lovin now. Humphrey from the elbow, not quite. Wilkerson down with the board. See if Indiana gets out and runs here. Wilkerson fires a 3, not quite, off the heel, and the rebound into the hands of Ron Rutland. Rutland the third. Kicks it back out. Noah Lovin running the point. One of the young players on this Marian team, a true sophomore. Aaron Humphrey airballs the 3. And an empty possession there for the Knights. Thanks, Ava. And you know, it's kind of a full circle moment. Luke Lindemann played at Bloomington North High School. And when he and the Cougars faced off against South a couple years ago, that game went into overtime and ended on a buzzer beater. That was the first basketball game I ever called. So now, the first men's game that I call courtside at Assembly Hall, Luke Lindemann playing for Marian. I thought that was kind of interesting. Raised my eyebrows, to say the least, as Tatum Connerway, a little too physical with Noah Lovin right there. But Lindemann, his senior year of high school, hampered by injuries, and his AAU career as well as it came to a close. Pat Knight told Lindemann's father, Todd, he said, hey, we're here for you. If you don't get what you want because of the injuries right out of high school, the injuries and, of course, teams utilizing the transfer portal so heavily, Alexis fighting inside, counted, and the foul. The Florida transfer, very physical, as we've come to expect. Highly touted for his paint presence. But as we get another look at Alexis fighting through all kinds of contact right there. And Alexis to the stripe. But Pat Knight told Todd Lindemann, if Luke doesn't get what he wants right out of high school, come to Marian, play for me for a couple of years. With teams looking for transfers all over the place, a lot of rising high school seniors, graduating seniors are getting overlooked. So you can play at the NAIA level for a couple of years and then transfer to a Division I school and make a name for yourself at the highest level of college basketball.
Yeah, Pat Knight said that he felt like that was really benefiting him in his team. He was very excited about what a lot of those freshmen could do for the Knights this season, and I think he's absolutely right. The transfer portal has become such a big presence in not just college basketball, but if we're talking college basketball, a lot of those more experienced guys are getting picked up, and so a lot of the freshmen, a lot of the younger guys who are very, very talented are just getting overlooked.
A block there from Trent Sisley has Indiana up and running once again. DeVries hands off to Connerway. He made a three in the first half, but that's not his biggest strength. Two-man game with DeVries into the paint. Extra pass to the corner. Sisley knocks it down. That ball movement, Graham, coming to the forefront once again as Indiana less than 20 points shy of triple digits.
Yeah, and that's the ball movement that we saw more of in the first half. Haven't seen it as much to begin this second half. It hasn't at least been as clean as it was in the first 20. And that time they really get it moving sharply. They find Sisley in the corner, and he knocks down another. That's his third three already of the night.
Darren DeVries told us in a practice earlier this week, Indiana had nearly 10 assists per turnover. They chart those stats, and he said that was something to be really excited about. That ball movement bearing itself out in this first exhibition game for the Hoosiers as well. Here's Aiden Franks missing from the right perimeter. Franks led all Marian scorers with 12 points in the first half, but he's gone quiet in the first 6 minutes of the second stanza. Another two-man action here. Sisley to the rim, my goodness! A true freshman. And you can see why people are so excited about him. Wow.
Well, we talked about his touch and his shooting ability. There he shows off the size as well. Standing at 6'8", 225 pounds, just goes tumbling through the lane. And he is really showing off the entire skill set here tonight.
Converts on the three-point play for good measure. Indiana fans excited is an understatement to describe how they feel about Trent Sisley. During the scrimmage, he got, I think, one of the loudest cheers of anyone. I didn't have a decibel meter on hand, but it definitely felt like Indiana fans were especially excited for Sisley to wear the cream and crimson. Loose ball picked up by Wilkerson, out and running in transition. Waiting for some bodies. Here's Tucker DeVries. Slowing things down for a moment. Wilkerson bluffing the three. Ball kicked out of bounds. And possession stays with Indiana. We haven't seen a true freshman of Sisley's caliber in Bloomington. You don't get him very often, to say the least. A consensus top 100 recruit. A four-star by every outlet. And he's going to be an impact player for Indiana in his first season down here in B-Town. Baseline inbound going to Connerway. Connerway left open. He's got some space, drives into the lane. Nifty finish through two defenders for Connerway.
Well, that's why he's dangerous. He can go straight through someone and still find a way to be on balance and get a great shot up and in off the glass.
Seemed like he hung in the air forever right there. Luke Carroll and Reed Bailey matched up one-on-one. Carroll trying to get to the baseline. Bailey's not going to let him have it. Now the switch onto Rutland. Mismatch, advantage Bailey. Underneath the basket and over everybody. Bailey collides quite hard with Luke Carroll right there. Both men back on their feet. And so Carroll picking up his third foul, and the physicality definitely not going by the wayside even as the game gets more and more lopsided.
Yeah, it's been noticeable. Indiana with considerably more fouls in this second half than they had in the first, and I think that also speaks volume, is that the Hoosiers playing as physically as Marian is in this second half despite the lopsided lead.
Connerway turns it over. Humphrey with the steal, taking it the length of the floor, and he misses the layup. Second chance basket for Renfro, and a chance at a three-point play. Good job there by Renfro of hustling back down the floor and following the play.
And that's the second foul of this kind that Indiana has had, where the follow just gets a little too ambitious on that block. And that time it was Reed Bailey flying in a little bit too hard, going for the block, and got a little bit handsy. Sends Renfro to the stripe.
Joshua Renfro, a native of New Albany, Indiana. Pat Knight called him an unbelievable shooter. He flushes the free throw there. Over 2,000 points in his career at Christian Academy High School. Set a school record Also a two-time All-State honoree. Sisley, after that dunk, what else does he have in store? Well, hopefully not too many more turnovers if you're an Indiana fan. This one, though, going the other way. Renfro up top, Humphrey left open, whiffed. And so Indiana will inbound from the baseline to our left. Not too many turnovers to speak of. 7 for Indiana, 11 for Marian in this game. Here's Bailey across the lane into the corner. Alexis tries a three, in and out. And the rebound to Carroll.
And a good look, nonetheless, despite it not falling for Alexis. That's the kind of ball movement as well that Indiana's been showing off, where someone will drive into the lane, a Knight is drawn to that cutter, and then there's someone open on the perimeter, and with Indiana's ability to shoot the ball, that could be huge.
Rutland denied by the iron. Rebound to Trent Sisley. And now Enright left alone. Extra pass, Bailey in the corner. And back up top for Josiah Miles. Drives through a couple defenders, met up top and fouled. Sent to the deck.
And then, you know, from here, what can he do about bringing some of that Indiana talent back in?
Josiah Miles was fouled before the break. He makes the first of 2 free throws. Sisley, a native of Santa Claus, Indiana. Whenever I think of Santa Claus, Indiana, I always think of Jay Cutler because he's from Santa Claus, Indiana.
Interesting.
As Miles misses the second foul shot, but I'm sure Chicago Bears fans just got brought back to a time that sometimes they enjoyed and other times they didn't, because that was the Jay Cutler experience at quarterback. Blake Russell misses underneath the basket, and the Hoosiers running with haste once again. Here's Enright, off to Sisley from downtown, count it! And we just saw him terrorize the rim earlier, right there. He brings Indiana to 90 points on the night.
He's just a pure shooter. He gets it end over end so well and so consistently. He was out on the floor before anybody else in warm-ups, just trying to get that shot down.
Lovin, I think that's a goaltend. Alexis a little bit late to the party, trying to deny that one. And so Indiana, mentioned it earlier, but I want to repeat it. Indiana in the first half tonight attempted more threes than its previous 3 home exhibitions combined through 20 minutes. I think that speaks volume about how different Indiana basketball is going to look this year compared to years past, as Alexis makes the floater in the paint.
I think you're right. It's not only going to be a lot of threes, but it should, at least as statistics go, be pretty strong shooting from 3. 4 players have made at least 80 career threes while shooting better than 35% on this IU roster, so they can really put it up and in from downtown.
And now, of course, the obvious question is, you know, on a Tuesday night at Jersey Mike's Arena, a game that might be on Peacock, one of those kind of awkward trap games where maybe you're not on shooting the 3 ball, can you still find a way to win? As Ron Rutland knocks down a 3 as the shot clock hits 0. But there are evidently going to be nights that are bad shooting nights, because that's just how basketball goes. The question for Indiana is, can you find other ways to still score? And that's something that we might need a little bit more time to figure out. Sisley on the offensive glass. Can't convert, but he'll go to the stripe for 2.
And I think that the promising point to that for Indiana is the pace of play with which the Hoosiers move. They are rapid, and I think that when the shooting's not there, that rapid pace of play can often help kind of get out of a slump or just find different routes of scoring, because it opens so many lanes.
Sisley too strong on the first free throw. Couple of substitutes getting ready to come in for Indiana. We'll see Andre Achimovic and Ian Stephens. One of the walk-ons is Stephens. Bailey and Alexis to the bench. Achimovic, the freshman from Bosnia. Sisley's second free throw is good. You think of pace of play, fast teams in the state of Indiana. Well, Indiana basketball was once upon a time, of course, known as the Hurricane Hoosiers. And more recently, going to the NBA for this one, as there's a foul off the ball. And they got Josiah Miles for that one. Some of the students chanting that they want Drew Snively, another one of the walk-ons from Zionsville. Might see him later. Offensive rebound for Humphrey, and another foul. And this one also on Miles, so all of a sudden he's up to 4, or I believe he just fouled out. He was up to 4 before that last sequence, but Miles, his night ends a little early.
That's felt like the big difference between the first 20 to now about the first 11 of this second half, is that there have been more fouls for Indiana across the board. It hasn't been as clean.
And so the student section gets its wish with Miles fouling out. Drew Snively into the game. So 2 walk-ons on the floor right now for Indiana. Snively and Ian Stevens, 21 and 30 respectively. Enright bringing it up the floor. Both walk-ons Indiana natives. Enright up top. Here's Snively's first touch. Gives it off to Sisley. Achimovic inside. Here comes the double team. Enright cuts in. 10 on the shot clock. Achimovic again doubled inside. And a whistle before the shot. As I think they got Blake Russell for that one. We'll take another look. Achimovic inside, he got grabbed by Russell.
Yeah, he got wrapped up, did a good job fighting through it, just throwing a shot up in a hope that it would fall. Got pretty close, but just not quite there. It's hard when you get grabbed and pulled like that to really get up a good attempt.
So Miles on the bench. Indiana now with all 3 walk-ons in the game as Achimovic misses the front end of the 1-and-1. Final 9 minutes of this exhibition game. Here's Lovin driving on Ian Stevens into the paint, misses the layup. Achimovic there for the board. And Trice Grensing's first touch. The hat trick of walk-ons into the game right now for the Hoosiers. Grensing inside to Achimovic. Nice cut by Sisley. Finishes, and the foul. The off-ball movement so impressive by Indiana. Sisley with another example right there.
Yeah, exactly. The ball movement opening up another lane, and Trent Sisley just uses a quick first step to really get in there. Goes through 2 defenders and still able to get up a really good layup just right into the bucket. He's also pretty quick. We talked about his touch, his shooting ability. He's a fast-paced player as well.
And so Sisley to the bench as Reed Bailey comes back in. And Sisley, you think his shooting ability, well, during Hoosier Hoops on Kirkwood, he made a shot from the balcony above the Five Guys restaurant on Kirkwood, just a block or so from campus. Obviously, that might not translate into a game, but you're thinking, wow, this guy's going to be a star. Here's Blake Russell. Not quite. Stevens elevates for the rebound. And I thought it was really cool that Indiana had that event on Kirkwood, connecting with the community. You see Darren DeVries adopting that community-focused approach. He's taking pictures with fans well before the game, meeting anybody who wants to come up and shake his hand. And I think that's a good way to ingratiate yourself with a brand new community that necessarily doesn't know who you are or what this program is going to look like moving forward. Nice finish at the glass by Aiden Franks for the Knights.
I think you're absolutely right. I think there's a clear effort and emphasis from DeVries to connect with not only the community, but the students.
Stevens inside lays it in. A nice ovation for the New Palestine native. Stevens, one of only 2 players on this roster that was here last year, the other being Jordan Rayford. Inside, Russell. Mismatched with Achimovic, but he finds a way to lay it in.
Couple really nice fakes there. Russell did a good job of getting his defender in the air and just not quitting on the play, trying to find that open shot. And once he got it, he took it.
Grensing outside to Snively, too strong on the 3. Achimovic on the weak side, misses the layup. And the rebound down to Marian's Aiden Franks, who tries a 3 and leaves it short. Not the first Marian airball we've seen tonight, as Drew Snively grabbed his man. And both teams in the bonus from here on out. But I remember I was down in summer ball and I'm thinking, oh, this team's in Puerto Rico. But IU student media had some boots on the ground. I know Daniel Flick was there. I know Josh Pose was there as well. As Noah Lovin misses the front end of that 1-and-1. But DeVries was shaking hands with the fans down there as well, just to kind of get back to the earlier point about connecting with the fan base, thanking all of the fans who made the trip to Puerto Rico. Here's Ron Rutland on the perimeter. 2 Indiana natives going at it. Or Trice Grensing, I beg your pardon, the only walk-on not from Indiana. And an offensive foul assessed to Marian's Lamar Jones. Grensing is from Murfreesboro, Tennessee. He is not from Indiana. His dad, Greg, overlapped with Darren DeVries for 7 seasons at Creighton. Back in the 90s and early 2000s. You want to talk about a small world.
Yeah.
Achimovic to Grensing up top, trying to get inside. There's the double team. Back out to Stevens. Over to Sisley. Sisley, the fadeaway off the heel. Achimovic on the offensive glass. Lost the handle on his own.
And now we're starting to see these players like Sisley get comfortable and try more things. A bit more creativity, a bit more flair on that shot. And that's another joy of the exhibition games, is that players on both sides can really get creative and not worry about the result as much.
Snively bumping into Noah Lovin right there. So Snively picking up his second foul in short order. 5.5 to go in this one. So Indiana in the double bonus. The Hoosiers have committed 9 team fouls. So Marian, after Indiana's next foul, will shoot 2 the rest of the way. Lovin at the line, looking for his 5th point tonight, and he's got it. 3 of those points coming at the free throw line. Fouls, 13 for Indiana, 15 for Marian. Grensing gets a screen. He's open, he fires, and he misses. And that's going the other way. But you see the claps on the bench. Take the shot. What's the worst that could happen at this stage? Walk-on's probably not going to see the court too much moving forward. So getting live reps, of course, very important.
Yeah, and they seem to be enjoying themselves as well, having fun playing hard basketball against the Knights. And I would say even the bench is enjoying it. Very, very lively, very active over there for Indiana. Everyone's just kind of happy to be back on the floor and playing basketball, it appears.
And you think back to kind of the start of football season, I'm sure there's a similar sentiment here with Indiana basketball. It's nice to play against somebody else, as opposed to scrimmages and inter-squad things where, you know your opponent. Here, it's nice to, I'm sure, see some new faces on the other side. Nice pass inside. Achimovic finishes. Set up by Drew Snively. But Darren DeVries said that he's learned some things from the way Curt Cignetti runs IU football. Of course, Cignetti just extended. Now one of the 5 highest paid coaches in all of college football, as there's a steal for Indiana, deflected by Stevens. Here's Sisley all the way to the rim, and Achimovic tips it in. But DeVries said Indiana football, tough, physical, and disciplined, and he said if we can do each of those things, we're going to have a chance to win every single night. Pat Knight wants it, but Graham Nash, as Ian Stevens reaches in on Aaron Humphrey. A lot to like for Indiana going into the Baylor exhibition next Sunday at Gainbridge Fieldhouse.
Most definitely. I'd say clean basketball is the biggest upside for this Indiana team. All things considered, despite some penalties, some fouls in the second half, it's been a pretty clean brand of basketball. We've talked about quick ball movement. We've talked about really good three-point shooting, but I feel like the team has played much more together than I think most expected from them in this exhibition.
Aaron Humphrey makes the foul shot. And you have to take everything with a grain of salt. Marian is an NAIA opponent, but the Knights can gain things from playing in this kind of environment as well. Just going up onto a big stage and showing that you can compete, as Humphrey intercepts the pass. Going back the other way, open shooter is Renfro, and he makes the three. And you can see the Marian fans love that. And those are the kinds of things, those transition baskets, getting into the passing lanes, those are things that Marian can take as positives moving forward into NAIA play this season.
Most definitely. That fast break opportunity, that's something that you can find for yourself against any team, no matter the level.
As Grensing leaves the three short, and Stevens sends Joshua Renfro to the floor. So we'll walk 94 feet and shoot a pair.
In so long.
And Knight, recognizable to pretty much anyone in Bloomington who knows the long and fabled history of IU basketball. But in Indianapolis, he told us he's kind of incognito.
Yeah.
Indianapolis, a bigger city, and so it's a place where he can kind of just be himself and not have to worry about getting recognized. As he leads this Marian program into its second season with him at the helm. Marian last year struggled with injuries, 11-17, just 5 wins in conference play. That was coming off of 7 straight 20-win seasons. So Knight looking to get the Knights back to that level moving forward. Offensive rebound, Ian Stevens. Trice Grensing between the rings as we're under 3 minutes to play in this one. Stevens, the New Pal native. Red and white, the Dragons colors there as well. As Drew Snively makes the floater. Snively played his ball at Zionsville High School, playing for the Eagles, 2-time All-Hoosier Crossroads Conference for Snively. Another athlete to come out of Zionsville High School, the son of former Indianapolis Colts receiver T.Y. Hilton, played football there. As Achimowicz elevates for the board. But Graham, this is where I'll dip into my Indianapolis background for a little bit. Zionsville made back-to-back 5A state titles in football and lost both times to the Cathedral Fighting Irish.
Wow.
Stevens fouled on the way up, and I was fortunate enough to be a senior when Cathedral completed the back end of that back-to-back state title run at the 5A level, and I got to conduct at Lucas Oil Stadium. I'm thinking to myself, man, this is pretty cool. But my Zionsville friends, and I had a lot of them because I worked in that area, and they were not too happy, but I couldn't complain. Cathedral New Pal, also a bit of a rivalry. Ian Stevens played at New Pal High School. Misses the first free throw. But Darren DeVries, I'm sure a lot of positives to take away, especially from that first half. Indiana scoring nearly 70 points in the first 20 minutes, but also probably some things to clean up, the turnovers, the fouls. But again, that's why you play these exhibitions, just so that your team can get their feet wet playing against different opponents as opposed to just facing each other in practice. Up top, Rutland bluffs a three. Now he fires over Achimowicz. A little bit off target and off the leg of Trice Grensing from the Volunteer State down in Tennessee. Man, you want to talk about an exciting place to be right now. Tennessee and Vanderbilt both making waves in college football. One of those more surprising than the other, I think. Here's Lovin stepping back, misses the three, short, tipped, out of bounds, last touched by Aaron Humphrey. 91 seconds left in this one. As Grensing brings it up the floor. Achimowicz in the paint. Around and out, but he tips it back in. Not the first time we've seen Achimowicz capitalize on a second chance opportunity.
Yeah, Achimowicz has shown some real upside. 6'10" freshman. He's been really, really strong down in the paint. Definitely a plus in this ball game. Maybe one that many people, including DeVries, didn't really expect, seeing that he hasn't really had that much experience, had that much time under his belt.
Humphrey tries a long two off front iron. Trent Sisley is there. And Grensing across the floor to Stevens. As we're under a minute to go now. Achimowicz up top. Snively, a dead-on three, too short. And Lovin watches it go out of bounds.
We keep coming back to it, but the pace of play has been evident. Indiana has moved the ball so consistently and so quickly really speaking to how they want to play their brand of basketball this season. And they're doing exactly what Coach Darren DeVries promised almost to fans this season.
Renfro, a deep three off target. Stevens with the board. And the shot clock is turned off. Stevens content to just dribble this one out. A lot of positives to take away from Indiana.